All right, we are about to go all the way live. We are about to go all the way live, Leroy, talking about um, Love Jones. So let me save this and send this on over, and we can talk about Love Jones. I gotta love Jones.
Hey,
Or should we
that's one
sing?
from way
Hopefully,
back in the day, right there. I love
right.
that
That's
one.
not from that. Right. That's not from that one. There's the link, and I
It,
am adding. I am adding you on Facebook right now. All right. Welcome to Kendell Lenice Live. This is a new segment on Kendell Lenice Live called More Than Just a Movie, where we will break down movies. And I have my co-host with the mostest on this one because, all right, so let me just tell you how this started off. So Love Jones is one of Leroy and I's favorite movies, and we often quote it in our speaking engagements or talk shows. He's been on my show, you guys know, multiple times. So I said, hey, let's do a show where we break down classic Black movies, talking about different scenes and the dialogue and kind of put our little twist on it and what we think about it. So, of course, Leroy is here, and that's what we're going to do. And we are going to do this every single week with movies. So if you have a movie that you would like to be broken down, as we're going to do today, email me at livingtrue@gmail.com, and we can talk about it. And then also we'll bring in guest hosts if you know about the movie. So this is the thing. You gotta know about the movies. Like, you can't just do this and not know one or two lines. Like, you gotta know about the movie. So if you're interested, you can hit me up here, leave a comment on my all social media platforms, and I will see it. And maybe you can be a part of this show. We're already throwing up Love and Basketball, Boomerang. We got a lot of movies under our up our sleeve. All right, without further ado, Leroy Mckenzie Jr. Oh!
Big trust. What up? What
Welcome
up,
to this
homie?
to this here YouTube channel where we talk about all kinds of things. Typically, we talk about relationships or the Black man and the Black woman or just whatever we need to talk about at that time. But I feel that we need to talk about Love Jones because you and I both love Jones. And I said, I've seen it, of course, 1,060 times, as you have. And I was like, preparing for the show, I said, do I need to write anything down? Because I know that movie like the back of my hand. But I wanted to have some kind of structure. So I did list certain scenes. But let's just start. Welcome. Let's get that out the way. Welcome.
everybody. Hey, this is gonna be fun. I think this is gonna be fun because you and I we're both movie buffs, and the crazy thing about it is we like pretty much the same kinds of movies. So we watch them over and over again, so we can talk about them and their different, the different lines and all of those things too. So it's crazy. I think it's gonna be fun. So we'll have some fun.
Absolutely. And when I get a stamp approval from my youngest daughter who just turned 22, she was like, this is an excellent idea. She was like, this is a good idea. I said, okay, so I'm going to have you on because her being my daughter, we have an affectionate and an affinity for, as she calls it, Black cinema. So a lot of the even independent movies that we've seen, my daughter and I, that probably one or two other people have seen. So I told her she needs to be, and she's an old soul. So I told her she got to be on one episode. She said, "I think about it."
This movie older than her, ain't it? Ain't it?
Let me tell you, but they know they're my children. So once they got of age, they done seen it 92 times, just like I have.
Yeah, because when did Love Jones come out? It was like 92. Why do I have 92 in my head?
97.
Was it 97?
97.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
97, Love Jones came out. And she was born in 1999. Let me just make
Okay.
sure that we have it straight. And that I just went off of memory. So let's see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was 97, 98. Let's see. When did Love Jones come out? Let's see if I was right. 1997. Look at that. March 14th, 1997.
Okay.
So
Cool.
y'all do the math. It's been out a minute. So first of all, if you haven't seen the movie Love Jones and you've been under a rock or you weren't born yet, I suggest that you see Love Jones. And it's with Nia Long and Lorenz Tate. Both of them now to this day still look as
The same.
wonderful, the same as ever. So all the men wanted Nia Long and all the women wanted Lorenz Tate.
No, check this out. In prepping for today, right? I went on to YouTube, and so I was I pulled up Love Jones to see if they had different scenes on there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the different clips that they have on there, and so I
Mm-hmm.
click on one, and you know how they have the comments that people can make.
Yeah.
Do you know that there was I don't know how old she was or whatever, nothing about her, but she made the comment that she thought Lorenz Tate was the wrong guy for that role. She said he
No.
wasn't tall. He wasn't tall enough.
Oh, there we.
He didn't have the body type, and wasn't attractive at all. I'm like, hold up, I'm a
Darius
dude, and I'm like,
Love
he played. I mean, he was perfect. And one of the other comments, they made the comment they couldn't see anyone else playing the role but Lorenz Tate.
Right.
I'm like, I'm right there with you. Like,
Me
there was
too.
nobody else that could have played that. So I
Let
was
me
just
tell
like,
you,
whatever.
Darius Love was Lorenz Tate, and
Yeah.
Nina Mosley was Nia Long.
Absolutely. So yeah, I was just like, okay, that blew me away. I mean, and you always gonna have somebody that doesn't, that doesn't like something or doesn't think this fit a particular character. So I was just like, whatever. I'm like, that is probably, and I'm thinking back, that's probably each of their signature roles with most remembered for. I think, I'm thinking maybe Lorenz. His other one was Dead Presidents. I think that was pretty big. And then Nia Long, of course, she's been around forever. But Fridays.
I used to watch her. We're the same age. Well, I'm about to be 50, and she just turned 50 last year. And I remember when I was in high school, she was on Guiding Light.
Oh, okay.
My mom would watch. I remember we were around the same age then. To see her still pivot through her career and still be here to talk about all of these years later, and that was in the 80s,
Yeah, absolutely.
And Lorenz Tate the same. Remember Amen? Remember Lorenz Tate was on like Amen, all the little sitcoms back in the 90s.
He did the
early 90s. He was a little boy.
Occurrences and stuff like that too. Yeah, so they both have been able to
and then
have long, great careers.
Yeah, sitcom with Red Fox before he passed away. That was supposed to come out. They were filming that at the time. I think it was called I believe. So doing this thing for a long time. But let's get into it because people are like, when they gonna talk about Love Jones for real? What they gonna talk about? So we don't want to leave them. We don't want to leave them waiting. So Love Jones premiered in the movie theater March 14th, 1997. We didn't know how it was going to be. It was filmed in Chicago. It was black and white-esque type of movie. And it was in the 90s when all of the black movies started resurfacing. So Love Jones I saw it at the movies. I had it on VHS. I have it on DVD, and now we can watch it on demand or rent it. So it's still living. Do you remember when you first saw Love Jones the first time?
Wow, no, I'm trying to think. I know I went to the movies to see it. To me, it was one of the most anticipated for me because we were looking for. I know at that time I was always looking for those those movies that put us and portrayed us in a positive manner, in
Mm-hmm.
a positive
Mm-hmm.
role, and they were our age. So all of the characters, to me, you could relate to because you always had somebody in your crew that you could relate to. Whatever the Isaiah Washington character, he was the militant kind of woke
Yeah.
woke guy.
Yeah.
You had,
Because we're going to talk about some of his scenes today, too.
yeah,
He
yeah,
has some good
yeah.
ones.
So Bill Bellamy's, what was Bill Bellamy's character? Was it Wood?
Hollywood,
No,
Wood.
okay, it
Yeah.
was Wood. Okay, I want to make sure I
Mm-hmm.
had it right. But even his character, he's that one dude in the crew that nobody likes, but he always seemed to be hanging, kind of hung around with you because everybody couldn't stand him just the way that, because the way that
Right.
he was or
It was
whatever.
like, you're my friend, but this guy here. You know, it's like when
It's like, but that was the thing I know for me. I remember like going to the movie, and I actually think I went with a couple of friends of mine. We went to see it around that time and stuff like that. So it was one of the movies that I said one of the few that it didn't have all of the sex and violence and all of those things and stuff like that. It was a good relationship, romantic. It wasn't a comedy, but a romantic type movie and everything. Good love story.
good love story. Absolutely. So if you're just tuning in, we are live. This is Leroy Mckenzie Jr. This is Kendell Lenice for Kendell Lenice Live. This segment of Kendell Lenice Live is called More Than Just a Movie. We are breaking down classic Black films. Do me a favor right now and subscribe below so you can be alerted every time we go live or there's more great content uploaded. All right, so you heard Leroy talking about it was anticipated. When Love Jones was coming on, we saw the movie trailers, and every Black person from near and far was like, we're going to see that movie. And it was out of Chicago, which a lot of films didn't really spotlight Chicago. It was kind of a gritty film. We had Lisa Nicole Carson, who was big then. She was on Ally McBeal, and she was huge then. And like Leroy said, Bill Bellamy, who was still doing his thing today in his 50s, looking better than ever. Then you have Lorenz Tate, he's still working. You got Nia Long still working. The girl who played Sheila, I think she was just a local, but she did a great job, the only female in the crew. Isaiah Washington, who's gone on to do a lot of different things, Grey's Anatomy. He's now in that new P-Valley show, so he's still doing his thing. The P-Valley.
Talk about that one.
You figure out what the P stands for on your own time.
If you don't know, you gotta watch it because we sure can't tell you about it.
Right.
It is great. It is. I will say something real quick about that. It is a well-written. That is a well-written show. I thought it was excellently written, and it keeps you well because they bring it. I believe they bring it back, but good writing. Just like Love Jones. Love Jones was well written, and it was also perfectly cast, like we just talked about. It was perfectly cast.
Yeah.
I think too. They had the right people playing the right characters, and everybody seemed to gel together with it.
Yes, and let's not forget the bald-head guy. I'm thinking of his name that was in Leonard Roberts, who was in Drumline also.
Absolutely.
They have my boy Khalil Kane, Bernadette Clark, her name was, who played Sheila. I wanted to give her justice. So that was the main crew. Lorenz Tate, Nia Long, Isaiah Washington, Lisa Nicole Carson, Bill Bellamy, Bernadette Clark, Khalil Kane, Leonard Roberts. Those were the main ones that you saw. And he played, of course, the friend Eddie. All right. So when I think of Love Jones, everybody that knows me knows my favorite line. So I'm going to start with that. So when I do life coaching and I do speaking and I'm talking about relationships of all kinds, I always quote the scene where Nia Long's character and Khalil Kane's character were in New York. And he starts off talking about who ate the toasted oats, right? And she says, I don't even know why I'm here, under her breath. And he says, what? We've been together all these years. And she says, all we had was all these years, and it's just not enough anymore. And when I think about that line, and when I think about that scene, it's so powerful because it brings me to Facebook with people flaunting about their relationship. We've been together. You remember Living Color? We still together. You know, you got people pulling each other's hair out, beating each other down the street, cheating on each other, talking to each other all kind of ways, but they on Facebook like, it's been 30 years. Look at me and my boo. And then you talk to them, they be like, I can't stand him. I can't stand her. So it just makes me think about that. And so many people harp on the period of time they've been together opposed to the quality of time. So that's that quality over quantity. So what you think about that scene?
Well, I think you're right on it, but my thing when I think about that scene, I think about prior to them being in New York, and her even going there when he shows up at the door.
Yes.
When he showed up at the door and she lets him in. You know, now this is supposed to be somebody that's your ex. Now her and Lorenz Tate hadn't been, I guess, officially dating or whatever by that time. But he comes back in and he's like, I want you back. So she then I guess she lets him in, and then they had the conversation. He's like, puts the ticket down for her to be able to come to New York. She goes, of course, and then I don't know what her thinking was, that, hey, maybe things would be better. But she did have the scene with her girlfriend prior to that about should she go or shouldn't. Places goes Carson. Should she go or shouldn't she go? And I think her reason for going was all wrong in the first place. She seemed to be going to make Lorenz Tate jealous, or he didn't care, as opposed to her dealing with how she felt about him. And with her going there, to me, that was gonna happen because of the issues. You know what I mean? So when she says all we have are all those years, that's exactly what it is. Nothing has changed. We didn't do anything to address the issues that we had in our relationship. So they fell right back into to me what they had been doing all along.
So let's talk about that, because that's one of the scenes I wanted to talk about too. So let's talk about that. So she decides to, and we're going to have all kind of spoiler alerts because by now you should have seen this movie.
Exactly.
So if you're watching this and you haven't seen it, oh well. Oh well, spoiler alert. But you're talking about the scene, and that's a good scene where she's talking to her girlfriend, and basically she's saying if he reacts or if he wants you to stay, then you know he cares. If he doesn't, then do what you got to do type thing. And that's that game plan, instead of just communicate and say, look, this is what it is. I don't know where we are right now. My ex is calling saying that he wants to see, since I don't know what we're doing, are we just kicking it? Are we together? Are we committed? You know, because if we are, then I'm not going to go. But if you still trying to figure it out, then I'm going to go on over here. And that's really what should have happened. But of course, it is a movie. So instead of just saying that, and then Lorenz Tate is pretty much like, do what you got to do, because his feelings are hurt. And sometimes you can speak on this. And sometimes with men, they don't know how to express that hurt. So it comes off as nonchalant in a sense, right? So, absolutely. So tell me why you think he was just all cocky with it, like, you know, do what you got to do type thing.
Well, it has to do with one word, his ego. His ego was hurt. Because if you notice the next scene with Lorenz Tate and Isaiah Washington, they said, well, he's like, well, let me tell you, if he was doing what he was supposed to be doing, I wouldn't be here right now. So he's going off with his boy. Isaiah Washington just sitting there laughing. He's just he's just letting him talk. And that had to do with his ego being hurt. He's like, why would she want to? And see, I guess here's where the communication would have been important, because Lorenz Tate felt like if I was important to you, then you wouldn't go.
Right.
me
And she's
alone.
looking at it, if I was important to you, you wouldn't let me go.
You wouldn't. You would say you wouldn't want me to go. So
Right.
when that male female relationship thing, when it, like you said, playing games, this is what happens when you play those games. People aren't real. People aren't, and then your feelings get uptight, or your feelings get all mixed up, and then you get jealous, or and you don't want to say this and don't want to say that,
Mm-hmm.
and all kinds of stuff happens because you fail to express yourself and let somebody know how you really feel, because you feel as if you're going to be taken advantage of, or you don't want to seem as if you don't want to be vulnerable.
Yeah. And
That's what
that's, I
that to me.
think
That's what
that's
that
it
boiled
right
down.
there. That's right there. You know, both are struggling with the vulnerability part of
Yeah,
it. And
right,
that's the non-communication part, because she wants him to be like, no, boo,
right,
stay. And he wants to be like, well, if you love me, you wouldn't, if you feeling me, you wouldn't go.
right.
So that's that spoken, unspoken, non-communicative kind of conversation. All right. So I want to shift. I want to go back a bit.
Okay.
So when they go on their date at that reggae, the rare, what is it called?
I got the,
I
yeah.
can't,
It was a dance club. It was a dance
yeah.
club. It was a reggae
So
club.
when they out there sweating and bumping and grinding and all of that, have a good time. The wild hair, I think it's called, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Having a good time, and then he comes back to the house and he says, I just want to come up and talk. And she's looking at him as Lorenz Tate Darius Love Hall. And he's looking at her like, no, I just want to come up and talk. I was laughing because someone online said that a lot of babies was made with that line.
For sure. I just want to
So
talk. Okay.
let's talk about that scene. So was the night getting good to him? Was Nia Long, looking good? It's why you think, and I'm just gonna ask, why you think he wanted to come up and talk?
No, it was absolutely. And honestly, I think that just looking at that, they'd had a good time. I think they'd had a good time at the club.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a nice time,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not gonna say he was trying to play her or whatever, but that
He was trying
he
to hit
kind
it.
of
Come on. He was trying to hit it.
well, I mean, and that may have been, I think that was true, that he was trying to hit it, and he of course is not going to say, yeah, I'm just trying to sleep with you. You ain't going to say nothing like that. It's
Like
like,
they
yeah,
say
I
on the
just
show,
want,
I'm just trying to smash. Like he was
yeah,
like,
there's no dude watching this. And there's no dude watching this that in his right mind he's going to tell a woman on the first date, I'm just trying to smash. If they say that they will, they lying to you, because they're not going to tell you that. Now they may want to, and may try and feel how she feels about it, just like he did. She was like, because the first thing she said, I think after they kissed or whatever, he was just like, she was like, I can't go out like that.
mm-hmm.
She was like, I can't go out like that. So she knew.
Yeah. And but I think
Everybody,
that that's a good point. But that's a good point, especially in '97. Now these women gonna come out and straight tell you. But especially in '97,
mm,
a lady
mm,
was supposed to be a certain way. And going even further back, a lady was supposed to be a certain way. She wasn't
mm,
going to say that as a woman, I want to smash or I want you to. I want
mm,
to have sex with you. So she was like, I can't go out like that, meaning that I'm still a lady. I can't let you, have sex with me on the first
right,
date, even if she wanted to. It's some
right.
type of decorum that a lady, is supposed to have back then.
Right.
Now in 2021, they're going to tell the man, I just want to come up and talk, or I don't. It'd be reversed. So let's go all the way back to the beginning.
Mhm.
So when they first meet, and they're in there, and he's doing his is that all right, his poem as Darius Love Hall, and he starts saying it. Why do you think that, even though they met at the bar, right,
Mm-hmm.
and
I was going to talk about that, the
briefly,
bar scene.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they had a brief conversation at the bar
Mm-hmm.
when they first met, and then they went in and they said, okay, Darius Love Hall, and he got up and did his Brother to the Night, right? why do you think, because my daughter and I talked about this, my oldest daughter, she was like, well, how did she know he was talking about her? All of these women in there, and he had something already written. Why do you think that he really pre-did it for her, or was just speaking off the top of his tongue? Do you think that it was for her, or do you think that she just thought that that poem was for her?
No, I don't think it was necessarily for her because they hadn't met, so he didn't know her.
Right.
But what I think is he had a poem that fit who she was. So them meeting like that, he of course being, the guy, he's like, man, and even their banter at the bar, because the first thing she says to him, she must be a mighty fine somebody that you thinking of, must be a mighty fine. What do you say? A mighty fine. She must be Nia Long says to him, she must be a mighty fine woman or something like that, because I see you deep in thought. Right. And he was like, no, I'm just thinking about a woman that I once met.
Yeah.
And that's the cat and mouse game, I guess, that men and women play. And that was great writing, with that. But then for him to go up, I think he was already going to do the poem. You got to remember, he was already there. So he was going to be doing the poem.
Right.
He just happened to, now whether it was Nia Long's character or whether it was another female that he could have had there, it probably fit her. So he was like, oh man. And they had just met, so it was perfect. Brother to the right was perfect. I'm the blues in your left eye trying to be the brother in your right. Is all right?
Is that all right?
So that was kind of perfect timing.
Okay, so I'm going to ask whoever is watching this, whether you're watching live or whether you catch the replay. So if Darius Love Hall, Lorenz Tate, was doing that poem that was kind of sensual but not sexual, cocky, egotistical, but fun, sexy, all of that mixed, if he was saying that to you, would you be offended like Nina was when they left the poetry spot? Would you be offended? I'm asking the ladies. Or would you think, okay, he did that for me, or he's interested? Let us know what you think about that.
You thought you thought she was offended by it?
Because remember, she said the next time you embarrass, remember when they came out? And he asked for the phone number, or not asked for the phone number, but remember when she came out and she said she was embarrassed, you embarrassed me and all of that. Remember they were all outside afterwards? She kind of hinted that she was embarrassed.
But see, the thing is, nobody knew but her.
That's what, right, exactly. All right, so now the next scene, couple scenes from then, they go into the record store. Sheila's in there working. This is how it all starts for real. And it was old school. She was paying with a check.
No, right?
But her new information said that, Sheila kind of hinted to her boy, like, look who's here. And they have the conversation. And Sheila's like, what if he was like, give me the number, Sheila. He's like, what if she got a man at home? What if this? What if that? And he's like, I'm not thinking. That's why some of the women gotta, make sure our homeboys are pretty good. We gotta kind of bring them back down because that testosterone is going. So anyway, fast forwards to where he's creeping at the step, knocking at the door. And she like, first of all, how did you get my address? All of that. You trying to come in, that whole scene. So would you be bold enough to do that, Leroy? And what you think about that scene?
Honestly, no, I wouldn't have been that bold. I wouldn't have been bold enough to go to a spot like that. I ain't even gonna lie. But here's the thing I think that he did, which was really good. He took the CD that she was looking for. So he kind of had an excuse to be there, but or an excuse, but also he knew he had something that she liked. which was
Mm-hmm.
the CD that she was looking for. So that kind of, I think that kind of smoothed things over. Now, if he just shows up, doesn't have the CD with him, and he's just like trying to ask her out, I think that would have
Mm-hmm.
been a different story. But I like the way that they wrote it, that he had that Prince, and the fact that it was a Prince CD
And he
too.
said, because he be pumping them things out. What he say? Like, shoot, I could come here,
Things on every week, every every week.
But my line is when
So
she's at the door, like, you trying to come. But go ahead. What you were saying? Can you hear
no,
me?
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. No, what you were saying about with the about her, I guess the end part of that scene where they're at the apartment and he's leaving.
No, I was just saying how she was like, you trying to come in?
Oh, right, right. But even at the end of the scene, after he asked her out, she was like, "Next time you come, make sure you call before you come because I know you got the number." And he says, "Yeah, you're right. I got your number." So that's that's the game that men and women play with each other. The kind of, I guess it is flirt. I guess it is somewhat flirting too, but at the same time letting each other know that that you like each other, that there's that mutual interest in it. So I thought that was really great. And they really played off of each other
I
very well.
think that
Their
that's
chemistry together was just awesome. So
yeah, and I think that that's cool though. I thought
yeah,
that was cute because that's what it was.
yeah.
They were flirting. She liked him. He liked her. Because let me tell you, if you don't like somebody and they show up at your door,
It- it-
come on
that's a
now.
wrap.
You
See,
like
nowadays you calling the police. Showing up at my door.
right.
For sure, for sure,
Exactly.
sure.
So of course she was liking him a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I'm not sure if it's a lag because we are live.
Yeah, I think there's a little lag, but go
Can
ahead,
you
keep
hear me,
talking.
Leroy?
Yeah, I can hear you. Absolutely, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, you good.
Okay. So let's talk about when the men were at the pool table.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's
Okay.
that's
And
man
they
talk
have
right
the
there.
conversation. Right. So they have the conversation and he talks about marriage is what you make it. And then he fast forwards like you made her omelet? Like what? So
Yep.
was that an accurate kind of conversation that men would have after the fact?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was. I mean, like I said, so many things in this movie were spot on, because I think that all of us have been, either we can identify with some of those, with one of those characters, or even the relationship between Nina and Darius, where you're in that initial stage of trying to get to know somebody. You're talking to your buddy about this new girl, or this new girl, because and we haven't gotten to it. I don't know if you had it on your list, but the cab scene with Nia and her girl, and what's her name, Lisa's character, when they're sitting in the
Mhm.
cab. um but that scene with Lorenz and Isaiah Thomas at playing pool, it is because he's like,
Isaiah Washington. You said Isaiah Thomas.
oh, not the basketball player, right? But him, Darius talking about what she did, him cooking breakfast for her and everything like that, and then the thing that was real about it, to try and protect himself. Darius was like, nah, it's not, it's nah, this ain't no love thing. I'm just trying to, we just kicking it. And that's the exact same thing that Nina said to her girlfriend when she was sitting in the cab. It was like, nah, this, don't get all geeked up. This is nothing serious. Darius and I just kicking it. But they both knew where they were headed with each other. They knew that like we said, they knew that they liked each other. They knew that they were headed for a relationship. But the thing was, as a lot of men and women are, they don't want to jump the gun. They don't want to be vulnerable, like we said, when it comes to opening up about how much they really care about somebody. Darius didn't want to do it, and Nina didn't want to do it. Neither one of them wanted to admit to their friends how much they did like like the person that they had just met and everything like that. So I thought that was those were two correlating scenes to me that I thought the dialogue between the two females and the two males. So what about the females scene? Was that pretty accurate?
What when they were in the cab, in the back of the cab, and she was like, oh. And because it's like you do want to know, and like with women, they want to know details too. You don't have to give everything, but they want to know, like, did you go all the way, and what happened? She was invested. Clearly, it had been a drought for her because she was she wanted to know, and her face was like.
She was hanging on every word.
Right. She was hanging on, which remind me is that if anybody, I say this, if anybody has seen Sylvie's Love, I've seen that like 7 times. It just premiered on Amazon Prime on Christmas Day of 2020. But there's a scene in there where Sylvie and her cousin, Mona Lisa, are having a conversation about the night after. And it reminds from to where the other girl is hanging on every word, like, what happened? But yeah, it's interesting that you said that the parallels between the men having the conversation and the women, and both not wanting to say, yeah, I'm feeling her, I'm feeling him.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think that that's just they don't want to rock the boat, or they were both trying to play it cool?
They were trying to play it cool, and they were trying to protect themselves. I mean, I think we as men and women, when it comes to relationships, I think we put our guards up initially, because we don't want to, and I put it like this, I think a lot of times we don't want to be disappointed. And so many of us are tired of being disappointed because you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you're like, I got to go through this again. Trying to get to know somebody and having these expectations of them starting off, really well, and then something going wrong. And so I think that to me that's what that was. That was okay. Yeah, I'm feeling them, but I'm not gonna tell my my homie. I'm not gonna tell my I'm not gonna tell my girlfriend how I really feel about that. I'm really feeling about it, because obviously they were both feeling each other because they slept with each other they had slept with each other at that time. So
and he got up and made eggs with jeans on and no shirt. He came down there. All the women were like, I need a man to do that for me. He came in, look, with his brush back. He had his brush back. He didn't have like a fade. He didn't have like, he was still that old school 70s, 80s vibe where he had it brushed back, almost looked like a little baby hair was in the front. And he was making that omelet, whether she ate cheese or eggs or not, she was going to eat them that day.
Hey, and that was the thing too. To me, that was showing her that even their conversation when he had made the eggs to her, he was trying to see how she was feeling about him, not just the sexual part of them sleeping together, but just kind of where the relationship was going to go. He was saying it without saying it, and he kind of breathed a sigh of relief when she said, that she was, that she was feeling them and everything, and that things were great and stuff like that. So there's that ego thing too, again, in there, because he was trying to feel like, okay, did she enjoy it? Did she not enjoy it? All of those things wrapped into that. So even that conversation was really good.
But you made a good point saying that when a relationship starts and it's new and you don't know where it's going, you don't want to jinx it, so to speak, or you don't want to have egg on your faces. We're talking about egg by saying, oh yeah, he's the one, or I think it's this. You want to play it cool just in case the ish don't work out. Right. You're not saying, you don't have your friends saying, well, what about Nina? Well, what about Darius? You kind of just playing it cool to see where it goes. So speaking about relationships, and we talked about Isaiah Washington earlier, what about when he says falling in love ain't ish? Somebody tell me how to stay there. That
Stay
was
there.
so real, because when we're talking about not knowing if relationships are going to work, and you know, trying to play it cool, and then you have his character who was married, and you know, they're fussing and going through it, which going to lead to another thing. So remind me of this. I want to talk about when you're friends with the other and then they bring someone else into the friend circle. How do you feel about that? But so what you think about when he said, you know, tell me how to stay there? Somebody tell me.
No, and I think that was so that line, like you said, was so. That's why I said this was just so real on so many levels, because it was the things that they were talking about in that movie were things that you could actually. And him being married, that's the thing. You know, people will tell you, yeah, you know, you have people getting married left and now, left and right. But what people don't do, or what they don't tell you, is that marriage is work. That it does take, you know, for you to put in the work in order for the marriage to last. How does it last? You know, you have to surround. That's the importance of surrounding yourself, especially if you're young in marriage. Surrounding yourself with people that have been there.
Yeah.
You know, because they'll tell you.
Yeah.
You know, those folks that have been married 10, 15, 25, 35 years, they can tell you some things because they've been through it. I never forget, this was some years ago. I was working with a old Jewish man, and what was his name? Mr. I forgot his name now, but he was in his late 80s, maybe something like that. But him and his wife at that time had been married 68 years.
Mm.
And I was like, when he told me that, I was like, wow. I said, really? Mr. Stan, that's his name, Mr. Stan. I said, man, Mr. Stan, I said, your wife had been through everything. But having those conversations with somebody who has been through, can you imagine 68 years with the same person?
Yeah.
Y'all have seen everything.
Y'all seen everything. Right.
There's nothing that
right.
they have not seen.
Right.
And I mean that they've encountered and everything like that. So in order to be able to get through those tough times, you know, you have to have an understanding about that. And Isaiah Washington's character was just like, yeah, they were him and his wife were going through that rough patch. They were going through those tough times. Right, and that's real. That you're gonna have those rough patches. And he didn't talk about it with Darius, of course, because Darius didn't know what was going on. And
he's like, I thought the Commodores would stay together, man. Who knew?
And really didn't. Right. Saying about the persona that we put on, that the mask that a lot of us put on, instead of and you know, because I mean, Lorenz Tate, he wasn't married, hadn't been married, so it wasn't like he could, you know, Isaiah Washington's character could kind of talk to him about the issues that him and his wife were having. So, you know, it kind of left him out there. It kind of he probably felt like he was all alone, and he didn't have anybody to kind of gauge him through, get him through what he was going through in his marriage and everything like that.
Right.
You know. So, but that was real. That scene was certainly real about that. You know,
it was, and I love when friends have those real, honest conversations, because it's not always easy. And like you said, in his friend group, he was the only one married, so they didn't understand. They're looking at him, right? So they're looking at him. So let's go further into that. I don't want to forget. So when his wife, you know, leaves with the little suitcase, she get in the car and she goes, and it sounds like they were having issues with money. That's what it seemed like. So when you are in a friend group, right, and you love your friend, significant other, wife, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, or whoever, and then they have the party and he brings the chick from work, and Sheila's looking at him like she's not disrespecting the other lady because it's not her fault. You know, she's welcoming the other lady, but then she looks at her friend like trifling, you know, she said trifling, whatever. how is that? Like, so if you were in that situation and your friend brought in another woman that wasn't the wife because they were having issues, how would you handle that situation?
Well, I would say something. I would like Lorenz. I'd have said something to Isaiah Washington. And I've had friends who have done that, and I'm not gonna go and get in business, so to speak.
Are we alive? He's frozen. No.
And she's a good woman. She's, y'all, and I mean, they didn't go into detail about it, but it was like, look, if you need to go work it out, not start to see somebody else, that's not going to fix what you have. But if it can't be worked out, then deal with that. To me, deal with first, and then you can start, seeing somebody else, not bringing somebody else, like you said, bringing somebody else into your issues, because that I mean, where Isaiah Washington
Oh, it's live.
said just absolutely we just hang out, and then he starts talking about how his wife ain't doing this and how they going to this, that, and the other. She she may be trying to be a friend to him and console him, and this happens and that happens, and boom, boom, boom. Things start to happen and start to snowball and roll. So like I said, you want to definitely check your friend and say, like, what are you doing? But, I think that's as far as you take it. You give them the opportunity to say, what, to either fix it or not. But, that's a hard decision to make, though, too. And especially if you're friends with both of them.
Yeah.
And they know, all of them know each other. They know his wife.
Yeah.
They, and all of that stuff. So that makes it very difficult to deal with, because you know that this is going on, but at the same time, hey, I can't go but so far,
Yeah.
with it, or don't want to go but so far, because you're not trying to, you're not trying to deal with it or get yourself in the middle of it. That's something that they need to handle.
Yeah. So speak on that same vein. Let's talk about when, I mean, we're jumping around. We're talking about the movie Love Jones. If you're just tuning in, we are jumping around to different scenes of the movie Love Jones, which premiered March 14th, 1997. It is a cult classic. It is a Black classic film, Love Jones. So if you haven't seen it, this is a spoiler, and shame on you if you haven't seen it. So speaking in that same
for real.
Speaking in that same vein, Leroy, what about when Nina decides to go out with Wood, right? And that's Darius's frenemy, if you will. Come on now. I always say when I see the movie, so you think when he was going to a party and his crew, you didn't think that Darius was going to be there?
But that's what Wood's character said to Nina, to Nina.
And I agree.
He was like, you were going to a party and you didn't think that they were going to be there,
right?
But yeah, I mean, she actually should have known, and that was definitely wrong on her end. But I also think that Wood knew what he was doing when he asked her to go there, though, too.
Of course. But the thing is, why you even decide? And her friend was egging it on, even too, to see him. But why would you knowing how you really feel about Darius, right?
Yeah.
Why would you even entertain that thought when he came up on your job? As you taking the photos, he comes on your job, trying to run game, and you think it's okay to go out. Now, if it was a group and he happened to be there, yeah, but that's a line too that you don't cross.
Yeah.
And then when Wood with Bill Bellamy, he was like, whoa, like, remember when he left because she was mad? I need to talk to you right now. And he's looking like you said, like, you didn't think. So then, still with Darius being the gentleman that he is, or still caring for her, he asked Wood, like, where is he? Where is Nina? And he's like, I don't know. So then he runs outside, like, hold up, you stomping down the street like somebody stole your bike. You know, what's going on? And he waits for her. And the part that gets me is they just start the conversation when she gets in the cab. Like, they sat there silent, didn't know what to say. The minute the cab comes, they want to have a deep conversation. I'm like, darn that cab.
but that's what it is, and I did like the fact that they made Darius say, look, he was like, look, I'm going to stand up here, I'm going to wait for you to get into the cab, you go on about your way, and then we be done. At least he was like, as mad as he was, he still wasn't going to let her stay out there, by herself on, at that late at night and everything like that. So I thought that was cool. And then, like you said, them standing there, and then they don't start the conversation until the cab rolls up. That just, I think that was, that was just, that's what it is. It's just like,
I like that.
You didn't, y'all couldn't have started this conversation on your way to and waiting for the cab and whatnot. That way, it would have been aired. That's the movies for you, though. That's the movies.
Right.
Give you a little teaser to take you into them having a more in-depth conversation.
Right. So let's talk about the cinematography of that. Even just that scene, how it looked, and Under the Bridge, which is your favorite scene. We'll talk about that, on how it looked. So it had that gritty Chicago old school kind of grit and vibe to it, which I loved how they filmed it. And a lover of photography, and then just the shots that they had. And then, of course, she's a photographer in the film. Yeah. I'm sure that's all the people that had to do with the film, all of the great people, somebody was a photographer in there, making her a photographer, and then just how the scenes were lit. And they tried to make it even as old school as they was taking a train from New York to Chicago. They were always taking the train, which typically nowadays they don't, but back in the day, Humphrey Bogart and all of that stuff, they would take the train. And even back in the day with A Different World. And if you remember A Different World, which came before Love Jones, when they were trying to do the Humphrey Bogart scene with Whitley and Dwayne, and she was going to work in New York, and he came with the trench coat and the top hat. Maybe we got to do Different World too, one day. Came with the trench coat and the top hat. And she was getting on the train. It was that smoky vibe. That's what it almost reminded me of, a few years later when they did Love Jones and him trying to get to the train. So what do you think that element was about, the train, opposed to let's go to the airport? What do you think that gave the movie, just that whole train vibe?
No, I love that, and like you said, that was all about a vibe that she had, because she was going to New York for the job that she was looking
for Vibe magazine. Was it Vibe magazine?
It was a magazine that she was going to find out about and everything like that. So her, it's reasonable to think that she would take the train, for the ride to kind of relax and stuff like that, as opposed to hopping on a plane. And it's more dramatic,
Yes.
You weren't gonna have Lorenz Tate running through the airport trying to,
looking like O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, what I'm saying. So that's the first thing people probably would have thought about, was O.J. Simpson running through the airport. But you have him running through the train station, trying to get to the train, and then the train is just pulling off. You see him in the window. You see him in the window. And of course she's in her own world and vibing or whatever. I don't know if she was listening to music or not, but she can't hear him outside of the train and everything like that. So that was the dramatics of the writing and movie. And it fit perfectly. I thought it fit perfectly.
And so let's talk about before that, why he missed her. That ego, the girlfriend calls, I think you should know that she's leaving on the 11 o'clock train to New York. She got a job with, Vibe magazine. And he's like, whatever, I'm gonna keep playing my game, I'm gonna keep doing it. And then it hits him. And then of course he's too late because he missed her. So there's that ego again that we talked about. Like instead of like, you know what, I ain't trying to let her go, I'm feeling her, let me go right now. As soon as I hang up, he was like, what you calling me for? He was acting all cocky when his heart was like fluttering on the inside.
Right.
All right, so I just want to talk about two more scenes, and I want to talk about right. So I want to talk about your scene, but and whatever you scene that you want to bring up, and I know one of your favorites. But I just wanted to talk quickly about when they have the second time around, and she doesn't want to sleep with him, and she makes him sleep downstairs. And she said, "I want to wait." And he was like, "I don't want to wait. I want it now. I done seen it already." He was like, "We done been together repeatedly. Like, I want it now." What you think she was trying? Would you think she was just trying to be a lady? What do you think?
No, she was not trying. She was not trying to be a lady. I'm sorry, y'all. Ladies can get mad, whatever. She was not trying to be a lady. She was trying to tease him. She was trying to make him want it exactly because, as you can see, when she walked up the step, and no, two things. When she said, "Can you unzip my dress?" We know what it is because even the rinse tape was like, "Come on, you playing right now." He's like, "Let's go upstairs and we can take clothes off." She wanted to make it seem as if she wasn't trying, but yeah, she was. And then even when she went upstairs,
I just need my dress up.
Yeah, but you saw how she looked when she went upstairs and laid on the bed. She was like, "Okay, how long is it going to take this Negro to get upstairs to get up
with the pillow, like with the pillow, situated."
Right.
And then he's like, but when he said, I want it, I want it now.
She was okay. Right. So
but I think
she was definitely teasing him and wanted to see him, wanted him to tease her, so to speak. You know what I mean?
So I think that she wanted him, but at the same time, she was like, look, we done jumped in the sack when we first met before. Let's try to do things differently. Let's try to see if we can go without. But then I was like, well, why have him come over? And not to say that somebody can't come over and you don't do anything, but I think that her mind was telling her that that was the right thing, but her heart and body was like, girl, that's not going to work. But I think she was struggling.
You trying to dress it up and trying to dress it up and trying to keep it cute for the ladies. I ain't keeping it cute for the ladies. No, she wanted him. That was the reason why she said sleep on the couch. I want you to sleep on the couch, and because she wanted to see how long it was going to take him to come upstairs. She wanted him, but she wanted it to be like, she wanted to seem as if she was trying to put up some kind of resistance to him.
She was trying to be a lady.
Just like the first night that they met, when saying, "I can't go out like that." Same kind of
that
thing.
Struggle.
Yeah,
that heart
same kind of thing where she knew she wanted him. She knew it was going to happen. Well, it would happen as long as he was the one that was going to make that first move. That's why when he comes upstairs and he says, "Nina, can I play something for you?" And she was already awake. She just sitting there waiting, like, okay, all right, She was like, "Sure, go ahead."
I thought she was up there struggling, trying. I thought she was trying to struggle. I didn't know she was waiting. I thought she was struggling.
No, she was waiting. You trying to call her struggling, whatever. She was waiting. She was waiting. Like I said,
she was waiting for him to tiptoe up those stairs.
Up the steps. Waiting for how long is it going to take him to get up those steps, because she knew he was coming and he knew he was going to go. He had to try. I don't think there's any man in his right mind that would not have tried. Sorry. I don't think there's one that wouldn't have tried. I'm sorry.
So if they had Nina Mosley up there and you were Darius,
to find out.
So if Nina Mosley was up there and you were Darius, you'd be tiptoeing up the stairs too, shaking the stairs, trying to get up there.
Absolutely. Absolutely, no question. Because to me, this is just speaking from a man. My curiosity would be, look, am I here? Why am I sleeping on the couch? You know, I've at least got to find out if I can. Now, if she tell me to go back downstairs, that's another story. But I at least
Right.
got to find out if I
You're
can,
gonna
you know,
try your
if
hand.
that can happen. You know what I mean? Yeah,
That's real.
that's being real. That's
That's
just
real talk.
that's real.
That's real talk. That's real talk. It's real. So, because remember before they got there, she was like, bumping and grinding at the wild hair wasn't a date. Now this was
Mhm.
really a date when
Right,
they went to the step, when they
right.
started
It's a real
stepping and
date.
went to
Right.
the step club. So I
Stepping.
guess she was trying to set the
Yeah.
mood differently to get a different outcome. Not to say she didn't want to sleep with him, but she was trying from the beginning to do things different. But the sister got weak. She got weak.
But whatever. But like Darius said, we done been here before. I done seen her. I done,
He said
what are we
repeatedly.
doing? What are we doing?
But so that is so funny. So I want to quickly talk about the scene where they were breaking up when he started seeing the girl Lisa. Her name was on, she was calling in the middle of the night. The phone number was on the refrigerator. And she was like, how can I even trust you? So what do you think about the trust conversation that they had? And she's like, I can't even trust you. Or how do I know I can trust you? So when you break up with someone that you're not really together with, they start seeing somebody, as she did even with her ex-boyfriend. She forgot about that part. And then they get together. Do you think it's easy to trust at that point? Because that was that whole conversation. She was sitting there with the cigarette and they were having that whole conversation. What do you think about that conversation?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: the things that led up to that conversation.
Because she said, you're not giving me
If
a
you
reason
remember,
to stay. She said, you're not even giving me a reason.
right? But here's what happened before they had that conversation. Darius got the phone call from Lisa at 6 o'clock in the morning when they were there. So you go from
Mm-hmm.
getting that phone call at 6 o'clock in the morning to
Mm-hmm.
then the next scene, if you remember, was her seeing the phone number on the
On the refrigerator.
refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, if you're trying to do something, then you ain't putting the woman's phone on the refrigerator. So that should have told her something right there that
Mm-hmm.
that it wasn't anything
Mm-hmm.
anything to be thing. But I like
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I like Darius's line to her when she said, you haven't given me reason to trust you. He said, well, why would you want to be with somebody that you don't trust? Boom, in the conversation. Because if you don't trust me, we don't. Why are we even having this
Right.
conversation? Why are
Right.
we even talking about this? Because you're not going to trust me.
Okay.
And
Okay.
like he said to her, I've told he was like, well, I've told you that it was nothing. Repeatedly, I've told you that there's nothing going on between her and I. And her response was, well, the phone call, the early phone calls, the
Yeah.
phone number on the refrigerator, those were things that she saw as being things of mistrust, and why she felt like, hey, those were red flags to her.
Yeah.
Those were red flags to her.
Yeah.
Which the phone call, I could, that's questionable. You know, be like, why are you
Right.
calling? His thing should have been, why are you calling me at 6 o'clock in the morning?
Because if it was reversed, he would be asking the same thing.
Right. So that I understood, but that line with Darius saying, "Why would you want to be with somebody that you don't trust?" That's it, right? That was it right there for me. I was like, yeah, that's it. If you don't trust me, then there's no need for us to have a conversation. And like he said, Darius said, you can do me a favor, do both of us a favor, come pick your stuff up, and we're done. Because I'm so how many relationships would have been ended, would have not had to have lingered on if we were that
Blunt on it.
blatant, yeah, that blatant about about things, and that serious about things. It's like, look,
True.
no, we're not having that conversation. I've
True.
already told you, I'm not going through this with you. That
True.
mistrust, that not trusting me, and
True.
everything like that. I don't have to deal with, and I hope that we realize, and for those that are listening or watching, understand that about relationships. You don't have to deal with it. It's
Yeah.
whether or not you choose to deal with it. That's
Yeah.
why if you
Facts.
watched a lot of the divorce the divorce court a lot of things that Judge Toller and even now Faith, Judge
Mm-hmm.
Faith, what they tell the individuals is you chose to stay, or you chose to do this, you
Right.
chose to do that, you're staying.
Like Iyanla said, I chose not to participate anymore.
Right. Exactly. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what Darius did. He chose not to
Mm-hmm.
participate anymore. He was like, no, I'm not dealing with this. I've told
Yeah.
you. I've told you, and my word, if my word isn't good enough for you, then let's just, let's just be gone. Let's be
Yeah.
done with it.
Yeah.
So that's what I love. Let me you the I lied to, and I know you probably can't see this. This is everything that I had, the things that I talked, that I wanted to talk, that we
Because
were
we
going to talk
are
about.
here.
It
Because
is
we are
every single
always
thing that you
here.
talked about is on this paper.
That's why we're doing this show together. We are here. This is why.
Every single one of them. I lied to you
See?
not.
See? We are here. This is why we work well together, Mr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. So before we get to your part, because that's going to be the end of the show. So I
Yeah.
wanted that to be the end of this show. I got one more scene. See if you got this one. You probably do. The cleverness of the conversation with Wood and Darius, with Sheila sitting in the middle, when they're going back and forth about working overtime.
It's right there. It's
Working
that
overtime.
absolutely, absolutely, that
That scene was brilliant.
absolutely, and it's a um it's that's that ego, that's that male, if you will, the lions going at it. It's like, yeah, and when I was looking at the different scenes on YouTube, and I'm trying to remember what somebody said, because they talked about that. They talked because I they had that scene on it, and I was looking at the comments in there, but I can't remember what somebody said in there about it and stuff like that. But it
Cause
was
he was like, "That's your mom calling." He was like, "No." I was
not
like,
this time, but it was such a great scene. But
mm,
it was two egos, and it was
mm-hmm.
like, it's like, yeah, like even when Darius, when they're talking about being fired versus quitting, you know,
Cause
yeah,
I
Darius,
quit
and
mine.
yeah, man, he's like, I quit. You usually get fired from yours. So
Right.
that was a big ego scene and
Yeah.
testosterone scene right there, about, yeah, okay, and even Sheila said it, y'all if you want to see who's is better, I mean, is
Right.
bigger or whatever, you need to take that somewhere else or whatever, and
Right.
stuff like that.
Sheila
So
is always in the mix.
I
Sheila's
know,
always in the
right?
mix. Like, I'm not trying to deal with y'all, but both her friends,
Right,
you gotta
right,
love it. She's
and
there to kind of put the balance
yeah,
if
yeah,
they allow her to.
and to keep the peace, and kind of keep the peace, because even before Wood comes to sit down, she's like, I heard about, you and Nina, or Wood and Nina. She's like, just be cool, just be cool, just be
Mm-hmm.
cool. So she was trying to smooth
Cause she
things out.
likes them both.
Yeah,
She really
yeah,
did.
trying
She
to
was
keep
friends
peace.
with both.
Yeah,
Even
and
as
she even,
whacked as Bill Bellamy was and
yeah,
wrong,
yeah,
they were still
right.
friends.
And she did. She leaned on him too. She was like, Wood, what are you doing? She was
Mm-hmm.
like, you can't, y'all you want to see who's, and it's like what,
Mm-hmm.
so you need those friends in your circle that aren't afraid to tell you when you messing up and
About
stuff like that.
yourself. Yep.
Yeah, about yourself. Like, look, you screwing up. You screwing up. That was wrong what you did. I don't care
Yeah.
how you slice it. You was wrong for what you did.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have done that or whatever. So,
Yeah.
that definitely was definitely a great scene. Like I said, just the writing period. That movie was so
Mm-hmm.
far ahead of its times,
Mm-hmm.
um, because there hadn't been, up to that point, there weren't a lot of movies that had
Mm-hmm.
come out like that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
just in that time. I mean, and we're those.
Yeah.
It's funny because the movies that we're picking are the movies from that era,
Mm-hmm.
from that time
Mm-hmm.
frame, because they were such great. They were great movies, but they were well written, and they all
Yeah.
had messages to them. They all had
Yeah.
messages to them. They were all relatable, and
Yeah.
it was a good to be able to see us playing
Yeah.
these kinds of these kinds of roles and doing these
Yeah.
kinds of things on the screen. So
Because it shifted from blaxploitation movies to
right,
something deeper with substance and layers, and telling our own stories. A lot of times the writers were Black, the
right,
directors were Black, the story runners, the showrunners, the storytellers were Black, the actors were
right,
Black. So it was almost as if we were telling our own stories, and to
right.
say, hey, it's more than just playing the thug or the drug dealer or the prostitute. Like, we have substance. Like, this could
Right.
be, anybody's life that we know. And those are the kind of
Absolutely.
stories I like, the real honest ones where you can just have those. Like, we're doing a whole show right now just on that movie to show
Yeah.
you that there's a lot of substance. And we've been doing this over an hour. So clearly that means it's substance. It's nothing shallow in it.
Yeah.
So starting this show more than just a movie, the breakdown, I started with my favorite scene, and I want to end the show with your favorite scene, as this scene ends the movie. So Leroy, tell the people, and if you all have any questions, and let us know what your favorite scenes are. Let us know what you think about this conversation. Let us know if you're interested in another movie for us to talk about, because we're going to do this every week. So we have Love Jones today. We talked about Boomerang, Love and Basketball. I mean, we got a lot. We're going to do The Best Man. So let us know the movie that you want us to break down on this show, more than just a movie. But Leroy, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe below to this YouTube channel. There's a lot of great content on here. My whole platform is about education, elevation, and entertainment. So hopefully I'm entertaining you today with my boy Leroy Mckenzie Jr. All right, so tell the people what your favorite scene is in the movie.
Well,
One
probably
of them.
that end scene when and I'll set it up. Nina, they both happen to, well, Nina goes back to the club that they originally met at, where they perform the poetry, where they perform the open night poetry, and she's finishing doing her poem in the club there, and Darius is there, but she doesn't see him, of course. But she does her poem, and it's the first time she's ever done a poem in public and everything. And then after she finishes, she leaves to go out of the club to leave the club. But as she's leaving, Darius is across the street, and it's pouring down rain, which was crazy. It's pouring down rain, and so she sees him, and he calls her over, and they have this dialogue, and Lorenz Tate starts off by apologizing to her for his part that he played in their relationship going the way that it went, which I thought was great. He's like, look,
Ownership.
he took ownership of what he did. He's like, I'm not going to say talk about what you did. I'm going to just talk about what I did in the relationship. These are the things that I did wrong, and I want to make that right. I want to make it right because I care about you. I love you and everything like that. And then Nina goes and she says, well, I live in New York. And he's like, I don't care. And she's like, well, what do we do? He was like, well, we can start by getting out of this rain. We can start by getting out of this rain. She's like, she tells him, well, your timing is always bad. And she's like, well, why do you always have to have act like things are in such a rush? He's like, and he tells her, this right here, this very moment is all that matters to me, and it's urgent, like a to
It's
me,
urgent, like, oh,
to me,
yes,
and
yes.
to
And
me
that's
that showed
urgent in
her,
the.
right, that showed her that he meant what he was saying. He's like, look, I don't care about all of the other stuff. You and I
Mm-hmm.
being together is the only thing that I'm focused on right now, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
willing to do whatever needs to be done on my part to make that happen. Whatever we got to do, let's do it. Let's move forward. And we don't even know. We don't know what our next step will be. But the first step is let's get out of the rain, and then we deal with all of the other stuff. So I
Mm-hmm.
and I love the way that it did end like that. because it did show, hey, look, we can, that they did, also that they still care for each other. They still love each other. They were still in love with each other. Circumstances took them apart, put them apart, which is real. That's real life though too. You have people that break up, they go about their way, and then they come back. They, for some reason, it brings their lives cross again, and they're able to come back together and be like, you know what? No, let's do this. We can do this. Those feelings are still there. You know.
It was almost that destiny
Mm-hmm.
that they had to go through that to circle back around. That whole saying, if it's for you, you know, you can let it go. And if it comes back, it was meant to be. And through their relationship, they grew and they kept being pulled, even with space and time apart. And sometimes you need that, you know, if you're dating
Absolutely.
or trying to figure it out. Time apart, she went to go do her thing. He did his thing. She was surprised that, you know, just the proud, supportive friend or mate or girlfriend or significant other, whatever you want to call her, when she saw that he completed his book. Because
Uh-huh.
she saw when he was writing, there's that nostalgia sake where they were talking about, they were in a record store and he was using a typewriter to write his book.
I
And
know,
to
right?
come back, right, to come back in town to sit at the same bar that she met him at, to see his book there, and that he dedicated the book to her. That totally changed the game. And then at the same time, she was saying her poem in front of people, which she's never done. She wrote it publicly. Even when she was introduced, they were like a virgin on the mic, first time on the mic. And she was looking for him, like you said, and she didn't see him. And then they went out in the rain. I love the fact that they fast forward, because originally she had her natural hair. That was her hair. But fast
Okay.
forward to when they saw her, she had the weave, because she knew she was going to be standing in that rain and she didn't want to get her real hair wet. So they put that weave at the end. So that weave was getting wet and she was all right.
Not that
But
you knew
that's,
that it was a weave though.
yes, and that scene, right, of course you wouldn't know, but so that scene was beautiful, and again aesthetically pleasing. That cinematography with them under the bridge, that whole gritty black and white, but not really black and white, but yet her clothes were, and just under the bridge with the rain, and that's how it ended. So everybody wanted a Love Jones 2 for years. They've been talking about a Love Jones 2. Before we end, what do you think about that?
Nah, honestly, I thought that's one of those movies to me that stands alone because you really couldn't go anywhere with the story. You know what I mean? I mean,
They can have
even
some Love Hall kids.
nah, I mean, if you want to do like a an upgraded or updated version of that, maybe, but that's just like the Coming to America too. I just it don't, so there's some movies just like some songs, you just they were perfect the way that they were. You really
Yeah,
can't go anywhere with them, so you kind of just leave them right there where they were and where
yeah.
they are. I mean,
And a lot of
I
people
thought,
feel that way. A lot of
yeah,
people feel that way. But a lot
yeah.
of people want to see them work together again. So they're torn in that way. But a lot of people feel like you feel. Let us know. Do you want to Love Jones too? Or like Leroy said, do you want to just leave it alone? Because Best Man is a classic, which we're going to talk about in one of these episodes. But they did something 20 years later, and that was good though. It was
You
good.
like, see, I didn't care for the second.
And now they're doing a series. Did you hear that? It just dropped
No.
this week. This week, it just dropped yesterday or the day. I think it was yesterday. They
Mm,
just dropped that they're doing a limited series for Peacock.
really? Yeah, I just those were two great movies. I don't think that you could really now the storyline, I guess, with part two was that what's his name, Morris Chestnut's wife, I
Mia,
forgot her
Mia,
name, Mia.
Mia.
She had gotten sick, and she was
Mm-hmm,
the one that wound up dying in the
mm-hmm.
story. You know, but I just, that was just the Best Man was a classic. I
You
just
didn't see it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
And a
know.
lot of people feel that way. And sometimes it's like just leave it alone. Just let it be a classic, let it stand on its own. But I think you have people that feel that way. And then I think it's split with other people like, I want to see what happened next. I love that camaraderie of the cast. I love that connection of those two people. So I think it's the yearning for more part that people want. And then like you, people say, no, don't mess up a classic. So Love Jones is a classic.
They could work together in another project, but it just not be a series, a continuation of the Love Jones. You find another story that they could kind of, um, work together. I mean, Lawrence Fishburne and Angela Bassett have done it. I saw this picture because they work together in, of course, Boys in the Hood. So
True.
there's a picture of them sitting in the car, the scene from Boys in the Hood where they're sitting in the car. And this was on my news feed, and somebody commented, "It's Ike and Tina."
right,
because they
right,
because they've worked together on other
right,
projects outside of
right.
the ones that they've done. So to me, I think Nia and Lorenz could work on something together. You know,
I,
outside of the Love Jones
mhm.
story, you have another story that goes and uses them that they fit the character for. To me,
Yeah,
you know,
I agree. This was fun, Leroy. What
yeah,
you think?
absolutely. No, absolutely. Like I said, I this is my favorite movie of all times. I love it. Anytime it comes on, I'm gonna sit and watch it. It doesn't matter, even though I have the DVD. I'll
Me too.
still I'll still sit and watch it because it's one of those, like you said, it's one of those feel good movies. It was something at that time, like you said, we could relate to. This was us.
Yeah,
That was us.
yeah, yeah,
That was
yeah,
us. So
yeah.
we could relate to it. We could say, yeah, we all had that weird friend. We all have that Sheila friend. We all have the bald head guy. I can't remember his name. We always have,
Eddie.
yeah, we
Mhm.
have, yeah, Eddie. We have that kind of friend. There was somebody in that group that we could
Yeah,
either relate to or that we could see ourselves being.
yeah.
And
And just
Isaiah.
seeing exactly. No, go ahead, finish.
No, I was just gonna say Isaiah Washington, character, him and his wife, that the married couple, and him having the issue. All of that stuff is stuff that we can relate to, you know.
Yeah.
So,
And seeing Black folks on the screen the way we did and
right,
not killing, shooting, fighting, all of that,
exactly.
like showing
None of
poetry,
it.
showing,
Right,
an author, showing a photographer, just showing something in a different light was very
right,
refreshing to see. And then
right,
now to see all of these years later, nearly 30 years later, they're still, you know, alive, everybody
right,
in there, and they're still working at their craft. And it was a good story that we're talking
right,
about now, you
right.
know? And
Exactly.
it's so funny because I remember when it came to the movies, and I couldn't wait. This was back then when things had to drop to VHS. And I remember looking all over, and it wasn't like Amazon wasn't there. You can order it. YouTube wasn't there. So I remember I was waiting for the stores to drop the Love Jones VHS, and it was taking forever. Now stuff comes out right away. We can see it. But I watched the Love Jones twice, back to back. I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I watched it for the 100th time, like a
Mhm.
Wednesday. Then I watched it again on a Thursday, and then this is why we decided to do this, because we both love this movie. We both, know the scenes, talk about the scenes, recite the scenes,
You see,
as
we had the
well as
same scene, right?
right. And it's so crazy that we had the same scenes written down. So tell us, drop a comment, everybody. Tell us what your favorite scene is, what you liked about this show. We are going to do this again. This is my boy, Leroy Mckenzie Jr., and this is More Than Just a Movie on Kendell Lenice Live. So we are going to bring, are we doing Boomerang next week?
Yeah, you want to do Boomerang or Love and
Or Love?
Basketball?
Let's,
Let's
you choose. What do you think? Because I'm going to say Love and Basketball. You're going to
no,
say Boomerang. So,
no. Let's do Love and Basketball because that's
all
that's
right.
that's like that's like my top. That's in my top three. So
Mine too. And people say I look like Sanaa Lathan, so I don't love her movies just because of that. But I love all her movies. So, Love and Basketball, I just watched again last week too. So, we're going to do Love and Basketball next week. So, if you're a huge fan, maybe you can join us. So if you are a huge fan of Love and Basketball, you know the movie, you got an opinion, let us know, and maybe we'll pull you on to be a part of the show next week. I thank you, everybody, for watching us live. As you see, Leroy and I were like filled with joy talking about this, and happy to do this. And I'm glad we were able to bring a little sunshine to you. And if you haven't seen Love Jones, allow that to be your homework and let us know what you think. If it's one of your favorite movies, drop it below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you, Leroy.
Absolutely, lady. It's been a blast. It's been a blast. It's been a blast.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching Kendell Lenice Live. Remember, you are a star, so don't allow anyone to dim your shine. Until next time, God bless. Peace.